my wife is heading up this ministry, and awesome. She keeps me on track. And, did you do this yet? Did you do this yet? Like, man, I was like, you should oversee me in every area of ministry. So much more productive. And I just want to find my notes. Okay, here they are. First off, I just really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you for all that you do here. I know I say these words a lot, and these aren't just words. This really is my heart. This really is my passion for the ministry here at Greenbelt. Greenbelt is not a one-man show. I have the privilege of mentoring so many other young pastors, and I also get invited to come alongside older pastors who have been burned out, fried out, wanting to leave ministry, because so many churches just get stuck in this rut that it really is a one-man show because we pay you, we expect you to do ministry. And from the bottom of my heart, I just so love this church. I love that it's not a one-man show, that everyone is recognizing what their gifts and their talents and their passions are. And I'm going to share tomorrow, like, my greatest joy in life is to see you fulfill your greatest joy in life. And I truly believe that is when you have that vibrant relationship with Jesus, when you know why he created you, how he created you, and you find that ministry sweet spot to serve in, where it's not done out of guilt and obligation or shame, but you're doing it because you can't picture yourself not doing it. When you just think about it, dream about it at night, like that's when you know you're really in that sweet spot of ministry. So again, bottom of my heart, thank you. We've been doing so much work and so much change in this area of LifeGroup ministry in the last 5 years, because God is a sending God. God just keeps sending people to our church. And I wish it was because we had this incredible outreach strategy and all of our plans were working and we were firing on all pistons when it comes to how we do outreach and evangelism in the community. But the reality is we can't take any credit for it because we don't have a very good outreach and evangelism strategy here, apart from just being Jesus in our communities, the social media stuff that we've been playing with, that we haven't even really gotten off the ground. We're still just experimenting with it. And God just keeps, God keeps sending people here, and I believe he keeps sending people here because this is a place where people can be welcomed. That it's a church that will welcome people regardless of their background, regardless of their belief system, and that they will be loved and they'll be discipled. I really believe that's why God sends people to churches, because he knows that place is faithful. It's all the favor of God. So I just want to share just a little bit. It's a little bit of a preview of what I'm going to talk about in the sermon tomorrow. So as leaders, you get to hear about this first now. 24 hours first. But, this is just kind of, I would have liked to give you this information sooner, but I've just been starting to write this and really feeling what God is doing. For the past 3 years, we as elders, we have just really felt that God is calling Greenbelt to something more. Like when we look at the culture that we live in, when we see how rapidly our country is moving away from traditional Christian values, there's a tendency to want to push back, to fight, or even to just isolate as culture rapidly changes. But we as elders really felt, as we prayed and fasted and studied scripture together and studied other ministries and everything that we do as elders, we just really felt like, the time when the light of Jesus shines the brightest is when the world is darker. Amen. Right? The darker the world gets, the brighter the light of Jesus looks. Yeah. And when we look at churches, and again, in our country here, sadly, a lot of ministries shut down every year, but we also see a lot of vibrant new ministries starting up. And I think a big part of that is that vibrancy, that vibrant Christian faith that the world is attracted to. Right? And so that's what we really felt. So certain things that we just felt God was leading us to was just even cleaning up our mission statement. For years it used to just be know, live, and share your faith. And that was a great starting point. But we live in a world where faith is okay. Believe whatever you want. Know it, live it, and share it. Whatever you believe. So it's like, well, we need to drop the word faith and put the word Jesus. Because that's what our faith is in. Our faith isn't in Allah or Buddha or Tom Cruise, or anything like that. Like, it's in Jesus. So So we've made that change. And then we made another slight change, moving from know, live, and share to knowing, living, and sharing. And the reason for that is that this is a constant process. You never get to the point where you know everything about Jesus in life. You never get to the point where you are fully living a Christian life. And you never get to the point where you're this awesome evangelist sharing your faith all over the place. It's this constant journey that we're on. So that was the reason for changing that language. And then finally this year we tweaked it just a little bit more, right? And we said that our mission is to lead people in knowing, living, and sharing Jesus. And again, this is very intentional. As the church has continued to grow, as God continues to send more people, it's easy to get into a mindset, well, things just happen. You know, God's going to send the leaders that we need. You know, God's going to take care of these things. And he does, but he also calls us as leaders to be intentional. Right? Jesus said to pray for workers. So we pray for workers. God, we need more workers to help out in Fusion. God, we need more workers to help in Kids Zone. God, we need more people to help in life groups. So we pray for workers. But Jesus said to make disciples. To be intentional. The discipleship process has got to be intentional. We can't just assume it's happening. We can't just hope it's happening. We as elders and the staff and deacons, we got to be intentional in it. So we've really felt this past year we have to make an intentional shift to see Greenbelt become a disciple-making church where leadership development is my priority. And we've actually restructured my job now that 40% of my time goes into the staff, the elders, the deacons, and key leaders. Investing in them, investing in them, investing in them, so that they in turn can invest in the people that they're doing ministry with and raise them up, so that they in turn can invest in people that they're doing ministry with, and so on and so on and so on. It's this intentionality of leading people in knowing, living, and sharing Jesus. And so that's kind of the big picture mission that we feel that we're on. And what came out of that conversation and finally was just this vision that God had put on our hearts. Like again, we live, in my opinion, and I've only lived here 8 years. Most of you have lived here longer than this. We live in the greatest city in Canada. The influence that we have as Christians in this country, the impact that we can have through politics, through the military, because the city is so transient. Like just look at the number of people who come in and out of the ministry here. Like it's constantly moving. Like for those of you who've been here for more than like 20 years, I'm sure the congregation doesn't look anything like it looked like 20 years ago, let alone 40 years ago. Like it's constantly in motion, right? And so I just feel that we just got this opportunity to just have this greater impact in our city. And so as we were praying about that, we worked on this for about 2 years as elders. And so this whole vision came out of this picture of what God had given us, not just for Greenbelt, but for the Church of Ottawa. What would it look like if the Church of Ottawa was a vibrant, growing Christian community engaged in reaching 10,000 people with the gospel? Now, this isn't about growing a church of 10,000 members. This isn't about the numbers, but it's about the people. The people that Jesus died for, the people that God loves, the people who are lost in darkness and they don't know their left hand from their right hand when it comes to spiritual things. Right? We've got this incredible opportunity to be that kind of a church. And so tomorrow, in my sermon, I'm going to explain in detail what a vibrant, growing Christian community means. And I'm going to share just some of the partnerships that we've started to build with other organizations and other churches, and there's some really amazing stuff going. I won't spoil that today. But I just want you to know, as life group leaders and life group coordinators, life group coaches, your role in this vision is vital. Is absolutely vital, because how are we going to care for people? How are we going to disciple people? How are we going to help people know the fullness that we can have in Christ? It's through relationship. I mean, I love preaching. I'm a big believer in good biblical preaching. But good biblical preaching can only impact people so far. I really believe it's those relationships that we build with people that is going to bring them further in their faith journey. And so this is why we have been very intentional to care for you as leaders. In the past, I know our life group ministry has been, we've done these breakfasts and it's rah, 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 see you next year. And I apologize for that. That has happened even under my watch. But again, as ministry has just been so busy, we just kind of assume things are working well, right? We are no longer doing that. That's why Danielle's role was shifted to make her oversee this, director of life groups. Danielle has put together a coaching team. So again, Danielle doesn't have to necessarily follow up with every leader. Danielle's got her team. She's investing in her team. Her team is investing in you as leaders, and you as leaders, you're investing in your up-and-coming leaders in your group. It's how we're really doing life together. We want to model this for the entire church. And we firmly believe as we do this, this is just going to bring more vibrancy in our faith. This is going to help us grow in our faith. And the Bible teaches us when we become more alive in Christ, then we bear fruit. Spiritual fruit that will last, and new baby Christians start showing up. That's just the way it works, right? So I am incredibly excited. If you haven't gotten a copy of that vision statement, mission, vision, values, it's not on your table. Come see me at the end of the day. I can make some copies available. Again, just to constantly keep that language in front of us. And you see we've been redecorating the church, just keeping those values in front of us. This is who we are. This is what we do here. This is who we are. This is what we do here. So, again, just thank you so much for your role in it. I am pumped. I'm excited. We have more groups starting this year than we've had in the last 5. We have more leaders this year than we've had ever since I've been here. And we have more people signed up in 2 weeks than we've ever had in 2 weeks. So thank you so much for everyone and all that you're doing. I'm really excited. Thank you. Any questions about any of that stuff before I get into the other boring stuff? No, it's cool stuff too. Planning Center is not boring, says the administrator type person. And the people go, computers! All right, questions, comments about any of that stuff? That means you are all completely sold out for it and you're engaged. Awesome. Amen. Praise. Hot here, it's just me. No, it's always just me. My menopause is kicking in. Yeah, I said it. You can put me on a little leash, Danielle, but it still goes out. Okay, I don't have notes. So Danielle asked me to go over with you a little bit about Planning Center. So on your table here, you'll see that there's this little packet here called Introduction to Groups for Leaders. This is what I'm just going to spend a bit of time going over this. Now, first and foremost, what I want you to know is one of the things that I've been learning, so I've been on this journey, I've shared some of this before, I've been going to this leadership development called CREST, kind of doing, instead of doing a traditional sabbatical of taking a few months off, we've spread it over 2 years to kind of do some spiritual development, some leadership development. And one of the things that I've really learned as I've been studying this is as ministry has been growing, right? The tendency, oh, I got more copies here if we need more, Daniel, back there too. As ministry grows, as more people come, the tendency for us as leaders is to just simply work harder. So we do the same thing that we've always done, we just do it more. So we commit more hours to it, we give more dedication to it, we keep doing the same thing, but we do it more, and we work harder. What ends up happening is eventually you start to hit a wall where you're working harder, you're working more, you're getting more frustrated, and you're seeing less results. That's just the way it works. You can look at that at many areas of your life. You can see that in your business. You can see that when you're running and raising your family. You can see that in your schooling. You know, if you, hey, last semester I took 4 courses, this year I think I could take 7, I'm just going to work harder, and you start flunking everything. It literally takes not working harder. We have to make a shift to work differently. That is what we've really been learning as a staff and some of our other ministries is it's not about working harder and working more. I actually believe if we work differently, you will work less, you will be less stressed, you will be less anxious, and you will actually see more results. If we can get out of ourselves and make the shift. I know it's hard. I struggle with it too, and that's why I've been on this 2-year leadership journey to get me to work differently, right? So that I can see more fruit. So Planning Center is a tool. It's not about numbers, it's not about tracking, it's not about databases, it's not about spreadsheets and reports and all of these things. It's about people. And because, like one of our signs says, because you matter to God, you matter to us. And the way we've been working is it's very easy for people to disappear here. I think I shared that in a sermon a few months ago. It's incredibly easy for people to disappear. So we have to work differently. We want to change how we do things so that we as leaders have an easy way to follow up with people. A simple way that even reminds us when we're so busy that people might be slipping away. It's a little bit of a, Jiminy Cricket kind of sitting on your shoulder reminding you, hey, don't forget about this person who hasn't been to your group in 4 weeks. Don't forget about this person that you've not seen in 6 months. Because we want to be so intentional because people matter to God and we want them to know they matter to us. So that's what Planning Center does. So what you have here is, actually I think I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. That one, this one, here. Holy smokes, it's hot in here.
It is. Shed a layer. You got a shirt on under your shirt.
That's appropriate.
It's appropriate.
You never know. And so it's like,
you never know on video.
Yeah.
And our attendance just went up. And I wonder why on Facebook, I look at the stats on Facebook and I see we're very popular with women 55 to 65. I'm just saying, that's our demographic on Facebook, so...
It has to be that dark leader.
Hey, ladies. Okay. Sorry, Danielle. I was up really late last night.
Move on.
Moving on, thank you. Okay, so you can see this here. So first off, what I want you to know is with Planning Center has an incredible help tool, which is available to everyone when you just click on the little question mark right here. You bring up the question mark and you click on, browse our documentation. It's going to bring you to a page now that you can't see. And just cast that one. Because it works by tab. There you go. And it says, who are you? Are you an administrator or leader, or are you just a group member? So the group members, they're never going to have to worry about this stuff. This administrator and leaders tab here. What I'm going to walk you through is this document right here, Introduction for Group Leaders. So you've got
Can you back up and help people who don't know how to get on to Planning Center?
That's what I'm going to show right now.
Where you are right now, some people wouldn't know to get there.
I'm going to show you how you get to there. That's the instruction. So once you know how to get on, to get back to this paper document, if you lose it, this is where it is, okay? So the beauty, what Planning Center allows us to do is to just, in a very simple, centralized location, manage our life groups, okay? Think of it like this. Currently, the way a lot of ministry has worked in the past is the leaders have kept a running list of their group. They have the phone numbers or the email addresses of the members of their group. You as a leader, you're not feeling well, you come home from work, you're really sick, your group starts in an hour, you're throwing up in the bathroom, you need to contact your group to say group is canceled. What do?
Call your coordinator.
Call your coordinator.
Well, that's now. We never had coordinators before. It's kind of like you're kind of in the bit of this panic, right? So, okay, nowadays you call the coordinator. That's great. What does the coordinator do? I don't have all the emails. I don't have all the phone numbers. Because you had it on a sticky note attached to your computer. Or you have it in a spreadsheet, or you have it in your personal email. right? Or you call your coach and say, I gotta really shut the group down tonight, can you help me out? The group goes, your coach goes, who's in your group? And they gotta find the information, they gotta run around. So again, see some of the complexity of managing even just a small group of people. How do we help you? How do we come alongside you? Is we need all this stuff centralized. And it's funny, we've been doing this as a staff too. Great example is like Danielle had a conversation with someone, got to know them a little bit, said, well, that person would be really good to help the church out with finances. Great information in Danielle's head, right? But Danielle doesn't work in the finance ministry of the church. Who's gonna think on the finance team to talk to Danielle, who's directing life groups, to say, hey, do you know anyone? There was no reason why Danielle would talk to them. Whereas now we have this little ministry tab that when we have conversations with people, we can just go in and say, this person would be great in this area of ministry. When that person is looking for people to help with ministry, they go into the system, say, I'm looking for finance people. Boop. Here's the people Jen talked to, here's the people I talked to, here's the people Cam talked to, whatever, right? So it's simplifying how we work. Simplifying how we work so we can actually bear more fruit, okay? So what you'll see on this document here is, I'm gonna sign out for a second here. So I'm gonna walk you through how this works. So, as a leader, on here I had to write the address. So this is the address that you jump to when you're the first time you want to go in here. So if you've never been in here before, you have never looked at it, that's the website you got to go to. So I just click on here. Cast this one.
Yeah.
So it's asking me for my email address. Okay? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, this is my phone number, 273, and, oops, come on.
I was going to say nothing. Oh,
Not shown.
not showing.
It's not casting, by the way.
I know it's not typing on my computer either.
Oh.
Interesting. I think it's too
Don't be frightened, anybody. It's gonna be fun.
It's because I'm casting here and here from the same computer. You won't be doing that, so.
If he's having problems, how are we going to do it?
Don't be scared. If I hurt my
Okay.
none of you can. Yeah.
And I need a password, because I've never been in this before. Okay, this is my email address. I've never been in this before, so I'm going to need a password. So this is my email address. Take the other one, 47223.
Pastor Kevin, may I suggest before you do that, why don't you use a password, just for fun, one of us?
Well, I've created a demo environment, so I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So that's the IT side of me. You create demo environments and things like that. So watch it. It's exactly what it's all set up. Watch this. So I go in here and it sends a code. It goes, great, we've just emailed you your code so you can go in. So if you got your email accessible, you can open up your email. It has sent me a code on my email. I enter this code because it wants to affirm that you're really the leader that you say you are. Put in that code. I go, what is my new password?
Darth Vader.
Don't save it. And now it automatically brings me into the groups where I am a leader. That's all you can see. You can't see anything else. So if you try to log in and it says, oh, there's nothing, contact your coach. It's because there's just a setting that's off and you haven't been set up as the leader. Okay? So I have been set up as a leader here into this group. So this group here is actually this group of people. We're here, right? So there's 29 members, so 29 leaders and and coordinators that are part of this group. When I open it up, this is where I can see my list of everyone who is a part of my group.
And Bruce Wayne.
And Bruce Wayne.
Well, and that's who I am. I'm Bruce Wayne.
How did we,
Because
Those
I'm
of us who are old enough to be
Remind me to delete Bruce Wayne tomorrow because it skews all of our numbers. Create these demos. I actually just deleted Clark Kent this week. He moved. So it brings you into a list of your members. The beauty is, let's say we want to add a new member, right? So I can go in here. I could just start typing the person's name. If I learned how to type. Things like Cameron Presso, he's joining the group. Do I want to send an email to Cameron just to remind him that he's now part of the group? I could tick that. And I say yes, add Cameron. This is just, again, how you keep this information up to date. This is incredibly helpful for us, especially as staff. One of the things that we're incredibly passionate about is seeing as many people as possible in a group. I regularly go through this and I look at it and I see who's not serving and who's not in a group. And if I see someone who's not serving and in a group and they're a member, they're getting a phone call. and not out of guilt and shame, but it's like, what's up? Why? What's going on in your life? Like, you're a member here. You've asked us to hold you accountable. You know, you've partnered with us in ministry. Part of our membership covenant is being engaged. It is serving. It is giving. And you're not serving and you're not participating in our care model. What's going on? Like, it allows me to care for people. Right? It allows me to follow up in a way that's meaningful compared to in the past where we've gone to elders meetings and it's like, hey, where's Bob Smith? I don't know. Who's called? I don't know. Well, what group are they in? I don't know. Are they going to their group? I don't know. You know what I mean? And when you have so many people, so this allows you regularly, it's 30 seconds. You can do it every couple of weeks. Just log in. If someone has said for whatever reason they can't be a part of your group, they're moving groups, the more you can keep this information up to date, it's very helpful. Now, for me, one of the best things about Planning Center is it will actually remind you to do this stuff. It will automate it for you. You don't need to remember it. Planning Center will send you the emails. It'll send you the reminders to take attendance and to just make sure your stuff is up to date. The way that works is through this tab here called Events. You need to ensure that you've created events for your group. So in the case of this meeting here today, right, I created an event for the LifeGroup launch breakfast. I can actually even send a notification to all the members, and some of you clicked it. 18 of you said you're coming, so you would have gotten an email with a big green button or a big red button. I'm coming, I'm not coming, or maybe. That one right there, exactly. So you get this email. 18 of you clicked you're coming. 5 of you said you can't come. 2 of you said maybe. So we actually planned the food around that number. Very helpful information. You know, and it's 30 seconds, not even 4 seconds. You click a button on an email, right? So, but you need to have that event created. So let's say, for example, you have your weekly group that's meeting. You know, so I would go in here and I'd create a new event. I'd call it weekly meeting. What day is it on? So our group is on Monday nights. It starts at 6 p.m. You know, done at 9 p.m. Because Kevin's talking at it. How much time did you give me for this? Yeah. It's a weekly event, and you can say when does it end? You know, so if you have your season that you know, September whatever to November whatever, you can put that in there. It's done. And then what this is going to do, again, you won't be able to see it on here, like even for this event right here, when the event starts, you get an email that says attendance for. So I get this little thing, it says attendance for the LifeGroup thing. I click the button to report attendance, and I can even do this while I'm sitting in the meeting. You know? And I sit there and I go, okay, let's say, for example, the group had to cancel. Well, you can click on here, cancel. Okay? Or we met at a different time. You said, we didn't meet. So, yep, we met And then I can go in here and say, okay, there's McNeil, here, there's Regina, there's Pat, Moino, Karen knows, there's Christine, there's George, there's Karen, there's Michelle. You get the point? Like I can do this, and then I can just kind of, click submit. 5 seconds, done. And again, not about being Big Brother. Not about being Big Brother. But what this does then is it allows Danielle and her coaching team to pull out regular reports. Are people not showing up? Right? Are people starting out strong and then disappearing? And again, what this data helps us, it helps us paint a picture of what's going on. Like I kind of stated earlier, like the ministry around here is changing so fast. Right? And we can make assumptions of what's going on. Like it's like, well, maybe everyone didn't join a group because they didn't like the preaching topic we did. That's possible. That's actually information that's really helpful. And then we can actually work on that as leaders. Or if we see certain times of year, we really see attendance drop at certain times of year, that's incredibly helpful. Well, maybe we'll not put on the French-Canadian guilt trip in my sermons during that period because everyone's so busy. So the data just helps us paint a picture, right? So this is the beauty of this stuff. So this document shows you the steps to add and remove your members, to create your events. That's really all we're asking of you, to kind of keep that information up to date. Your coaches are going to get a little bit more training as they grow in their roles, so they'll be able to help you with any of this stuff if you have questions. But that's just what I wanted to show you this morning. And yeah, any questions? Yeah.
Is there a groups app for Planning Center? Because I tried to find it in the App Store.
There isn't, but if you go to the website on your browser, it is designed to fit in your, so I actually just have it as a bookmarked page on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. They have an app for every other component, but they don't for groups yet. Because groups is still think it's their newest one, so it's probably coming.
But if it works, it's fine.
Yeah, but the web browser works fantastic on your mobile device.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as the People's app?
No, so all of this stuff feeds, People is our centralized database. And then like if you volunteer on Sunday, you're already getting these kind of emails. Right? If you're on the prayer ministry, there's different components of Planning Center. If you serve on Sunday morning on a worship team, a prayer team, or an usher team, you're already getting these types of emails. You're used to this already. They've just created this new way now that we can manage groups. And it's not just life groups. Like we can manage our elders team through this. We can manage the deacon meetings through this. We can manage whatever.
We track the kids zone.
We track our kids zone, plan to protect all through this, right? And it automates it. It takes everything out of your brain.
Wow.
I know. You have no idea how freeing it is for me. It's like, I got like goosebumps. My hair is actually standing up on my arm as I say that. I can get everything out of my brain, all the little stuff that I worry about in my role as a leader. I just get it all out. It's in a tool I can trust. It helps me work better. It helps me do less work, and it actually takes away the stress. Yes, Pat.
Yes, you started off by saying that if your life group leader, for instance, Michelle, decided, I can't do it tonight,
Yes.
that she would go to the coordinator, but I did not hear the name coordinator come up. I only heard leader.
Oh, yeah.
As far as going into this.
Well, and here's the beauty. You as a leader, you don't want to assign it to someone in your group.
I wish you hadn't said that. I'm joking, Kim.
Good. Did you just get a tap on the shoulder? That you gotta do this? But if you don't want to do it either, assign it to someone else. This is the beauty of group life. One of the things we're hoping that's going to happen is groups, as you get more intimate and know people, you're going to recognize what their gifts and talents are and say, you know what? It's not on me as leader to do everything.
Do you have an adoption plan?
For a weekly fee of $49.99, I will enter your data for you. But I got to make some extra money here. So.
The seniors get pensions.
Okay, you get the senior discount of $48.99. Any other questions? I know I went really fast, but you got the document. Your coaches are here to help you. You'll see as you get familiar with it. Again, the goal is to take stuff up, to make it easier for you. And as we change how we do things, you won't work as hard, you won't be as stressed, and I firmly believe we'll actually see more fruit. I firmly believe as we get more organized, we'll see less people falling off the radar. That's my biggest desire.
It's a great idea. It's really, really user friendly. Like it really is.
So
Like,
if, for instance, the leader did not want to assume this responsibility
Yes.
and designated it to
Yeah.
another person,
Yeah,
would maybe just a member of the group,
yeah,
would that person be able to access
yes.
your system?
Well, you have to let us know who that person is.
Thank you.
Yeah, you let us know who that person is.
And then you would change it so that that person was able to get into the system.
On
Exactly.
there, they would have to have leader status, so it would be in name, in this case, if they're not a leader, they're not a coordinator, but we're calling them leaders so that they have access to
Right.
this system, so we could do that.
Yeah.
That's the question that I asked,
So,
and I got the answer, thank
Yeah.
you.
So I guess, is it just only one at a time then who can access that, or
no,
can you
no.
have like a second, like the leader
Yeah.
is the main one, but you have your backup person?
Yeah,
Your
so
coordinator will have
in this group right now, so there's two statuses. You're either a member or a leader. Now, leader just means you're getting leadership access to this group. We have another group where we're tracking who the actual leaders and coordinators are, so that Danielle and the coaches can email you, follow up with you, stuff like that. So we go into here, you just change, so you can see member, member, leader, member, 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 leader. So Bruce Wayne, Danielle,
We both got the email
Yeah.
for attendance.
They- you
Kevin and I,
both
or
got the
Bruce, sorry,
email.
Bruce Wayne and I
Yeah.
both got the email
Right.
to do
you know,
attendance.
Kevin Presso, I got the email as well. So now if Danielle were to click that button and say enter attendance, she'd get a notification saying Bruce Wayne already did it.
Okay.
So you can delegate it if you just don't have time and you have other people that you've given that access to, yeah, they can do it for you. And it's, yeah,
And
so it
then,
sends it out to everybody.
so you showed us how to add, if
Yep.
people leave a group,
Yep.
is it just clicking on the little square?
Exactly.
Like how do you,
Yeah, so you pick, well, let's delete Bruce Wayne.
But what I want you to do is not just click and delete and, okay, we've updated it. I want you to tell your coach.
Yeah,
Notify your
Okay.
coach because we wanna see like what's going on. Did they move? Okay, that's
Yeah,
a decent reason for leaving.
so I click Bruce
But you
Wayne.
may wanna help them get connected to another group.
What's the drop down under member actions before you delete Bruce Wayne? Is that just to switch the role to whatever? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, there.
Yes, that's to go.
That's to-
Remove from
Okay.
group, make a regular member, or edit their membership date.
Okay. Thank you.
so when you remove someone, it doesn't ask you the reason? It won't
No,
say, why is
No,
this person
but
leaving?
they want you to tell the coordinator.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause
or
I
the
know-
leader.
It
I know
does say,
that-
are you sure you want to remove them?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Cause when
Too many
you
things,
can't
it's
serve
confused
on a
on who I am now.
Sunday, it will ask you the reason, so I was just curious.
Oh, because I'm logged in as Bruce Wayne. You actually have to send people, they have to have access to delete people. So
But you can
I didn't
remove
give
them,
myself access to that. So
but you can remove them from the group without.
yeah.
You can, but let the coach know,
Yeah.
just so that we can follow up.
Well,
with
and the
them.
beauty of it too is again, in the reporting that the coaches are pulling out, they'll see who's being removed from groups in that way as well too.
Well, I
So.
think the person that's going to be removed should also be informed.
Yes.
Well, exactly.
Just on request.
Like Tristan's really annoying in our group, so let's get Tristan out.
It happens. It happens.
Your own group.
Start my own.
Go, any other questions?
You're a rebel.
I have one member of my group who doesn't emails.
Okay,
Can I add that person in without an email?
you can, yes. Now, but that person wouldn't be able to be a leader to administer
No,
stuff
no,
for
no,
you.
no, that's fine, but,
Yeah,
so we can add members
Yep.
as well,
Yeah,
yep,
not having to do it in the formal sense through the system.
yeah.
exactly.
No, you should still put them in, planning center.
Yeah,
It's just that they
That's
wont
what I
get an
meant.
email.
Adding them-
Yeah.
I meant adding them in planning center.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, my mistake.
Yep, Ryan?
So there's been a couple of times when folks will join group
Yep.
and they're not yet in the database. So when we
Yep.
type them into the fancy dancy search bar, they don't actually drop down.
Yep.
Is that something we contact our coach about? Or is that something where we can actually enter the details from the person that came to the system?
You should be, as leaders, you should be able to add them. So when you go in that search bar at the top, you start typing in their name, it'll say they're not in there. Then it should have a link that just says add them. It gives a pop-up, you can put in their name, their phone number, their email address, whatever data they're comfortable giving you. You click save, it puts them into our centralized data, and you have them in your group. Yeah.
The pop-down says, this person, whatever, is not, would you like to add a new person? Click on that, it's easy peasy.
George?
You sort of alluded to this before, but this is what a leader would use to cancel a meeting in case of a snowstorm or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they would do that, and everybody would get an email, right?
Exactly. So the beauty of this, again, as a leader, the leader is busy, they're stuck in a snowstorm, they pick up their phone, they call someone else to do it. Whoever has that leadership access can log in. I can't show you now for some reason, I've confused my system. This doesn't happen because I'm logged in as 4 different people. So that's why this is why I left the tech industry, because I'd be standing in front of 6,000 people in New York City doing a presentation like this, and this stuff would crash. Would you please pay $1 million for this software? Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so the person goes in, there's a button that says email all the members. So anyone who's got access to go into it can email on your behalf.
Now, FYI, when you email all the members, they can email you back, but they cannot reply all. There's no reply all function to group email. So it's really coming from leader or coordinator to the group and getting individuals sending you back. It won't reply.
Yeah, don't coordinate a potluck through that tool or anything like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm done. Thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate all of it. Did you take a quick break? Is that, no? Never mind. Not my meeting.
But I do have that's why, yeah, that's it. So you want to be leading there, which I find the
Oh, my phone is part of it. Okay. Because then I can have them all in front of me.
Yeah, so grab a coffee if you need it. We'll start in 2 minutes. We'll continue in 2 minutes.
I have no idea. Light in the dark. I just had it in my car. Okay. Oh, pretty color. I love that. Thank you. Yes. I was so excited. I think I was so excited to see Regina that I ran away.
Like I told you.
Something to something.
So you said you can't. The planning center actually Texas it allows you to put in person Facebook profile in it, and it doesn't connect there. Facebook is access to providing well, but it doesn't connect. Facebook doesn't play with anyone else. No, but that's the way I understand it, yeah. Like, even like this video camera, you can live stream from multiple services at the same time. YouTube, Twitter, and all that. So as soon as you click Facebook, nope. They know how to do it from multiple people at the same time.
Oh, Wednesday night, what's really one? Yeah, no, that's good. Look at that.
All right, so I'm gonna get started again. I wanna make sure to keep going because I wanna make sure you guys are able to get out of here by 11:30 sharp because I really value your time. So grateful that you've given. Yeah. And I also value an opportunity to pray for you and with you, and so that's a big part of why we're gonna be here this morning. So I'm sort of giving myself a little over 20 minutes to go through this part that I need to go through, and then we really are gonna focus in on that time of prayer with your coach, with the teams that you're with, so that we can pray for your needs and the needs of your group. So I want to get us started and continue on. We've started talking about the overall vision. We talked also about the planning center, so that you as a leader or as a coordinator, that you can be entering that information. That's really important. But why? Because it's important to us to be looking out and caring for people within the group. So it's not for the numbers, as Kevin mentioned. It's really because we want to make sure not to let anybody fall through the cracks. So for today, the things I'm going to be focusing on, I don't think this thing is. There we go, now it is. Okay, so for today, a couple of things I wanted to do. One is going over the expectations of a leader. Second is going over the expectations of a coordinator. And then the last thing, what are we supposed to do in this mentoring relationship with a leader and a coordinator? So if you'll see, you'll have a page that looks like this. Thank you, Kevin. Page that looks like this. It has your agenda on top. The next page is the expectations of a life group leader. So what we're expecting of you as a leader, if you're a leader here today, we're expecting daily prayer for your group members. I know that's a lot. Daily, that's a lot. But we are really asking that you see your group as your little family in this big family, right? And so praying for them daily. We want you meeting weekly as a group. In this fall season, we're looking at following the sermon series. This is something we decided to do to unify us as a church. So we are doing a lot of things differently this year, but one of the big things we're doing to remain unified is following the sermon series together. Kevin's going to show you at the end. There's the handout with the first 4 weeks of questions, sermon questions that he's done a really great job on. I appreciate all the hard work on that. Looking at knowing, living, and sharing Jesus. The focus of the questions are exactly that. Knowing Scripture, basically, and then living, how we're living out our faith, and then how can we share our faith. So I'm loving the format and how it's coming together for the sermon series. So thank you, Kevin, for working on that so hard.
Thank you for pushing.
Oh, you're welcome.
The first draft was like, I don't like this.
I was nicer than that.
Yes,
okay,
you were.
So next is next thing that we ask you to do is incorporating Scripture, prayer, and caring into the life of the group. Those are the three things. As a life group leader, if you're kind of looking at those three components, are we focusing on Scripture and what it says and learning and growing in it? Are we focusing on prayer for one another, prayer for the group? You're praying, obviously, for your group on a regular basis. And are we focusing on caring for one another? There's going to be times where care is greater than what your group can accommodate. There's times where that happens. But if you can within the group, wonderful. That's your like a little family. If you can't, then you contact Elise Adams, who's a part of the CARES network. She coordinates that network. And we help to bring other people alongside, so that if somebody, is in hospital and you can't, they can't be visited all the time and they need somebody, well, then we contact the network. Or somebody needs a meal, we bring on some other people who might be able to help, right? So doing what you can as a group, contacting Elise Adams if need be for additional care, okay? We're asking you as life group leaders to identify and mentor your life group coordinator. Some coordinators are here already. Let's say thank you to the coordinators. Because some coordinators have self-identified based on the visioning breakfast that we did in June, I think it was, when people were invited, leaders, coordinators, who we saw, Kevin and I saw as these are people that really would do a great job in these roles, and we felt really confident about inviting in. And at that time, many of you signed up as leaders, and many of you signed up and said, I'm willing to be a coordinator. And so thank you for that. Now, not all the groups have a coordinator at this point, so all the groups are going to need a coordinator. So in the first 3 weeks of your group, your coach is going to be following up with you to say, so have you identified your coordinator? If you've not, how can I help you identify a coordinator? What do you need in terms of help to get that coordinator on board? Because every group needs one. And so you may already be in a group, you may be waiting to get kind of plugged into a group, or you may be a leader that doesn't have a coordinator yet. It's going to be your job to identify that coordinator, talk to them, let them know, I want to have this kind of mentorship relationship with you. That means I'm going to, pour a little bit more into that relationship and with that coordinator. You're going to expect more from them. Perhaps it's going on planning center. Perhaps it's they're going to take, the responsibility of, one will do facilitating the discussion, the other will, say, okay, well, I'm going to coordinate making sure the prayer happens in the group. Whatever. Or maybe it's, I'm much more into the Bible study and I'm going to bring on somebody who's a little bit more into the care side. So it's really looking at what does your group need and how do I ensure that these kind of 3 sides, this into scripture, into prayer, and care, all those are covered. So you're going to identify, next you're going to engage and follow up with your life group coach. So, by the way, each of the tables has a coach on it. So at this table, we have the lovely Nicole Lalonde. So thank you, Nicole, for being a part of the coaching group for so long. And at this table, she's on the phone, we have Michelle. And at this table over here,
You're stuck with me.
so thank you, because honestly, like Kevin mentioned before, I would not be able to follow up with the number of people in this room, and there are some that are not here today as well, but through this model, we can have coaches who are following up and doing a great job of it. We're going to need to grow in that because we do believe we're going to have more groups in January. And in fact, George is here, and he's already talking about a group that he's not starting in the fall, he's starting in January. So when he said, do I need to be here? I said, yes, come. And then you'll be all set for January. We're going to have some talks, but as we have more groups, because we have, quite a few people here, we want to have 100% of people involved in a group. So as we have more groups, we're going to need more coaches. Any questions on expectations of a life group leader? Yeah.
You've got 3 coaches. At some point, they will identify which groups with which coach.
Yep, you're at it.
Oh, I just sat here randomly.
Oh, perfect. You sat at the right place.
Did I?
You should have them.
You're with me.
That's why I asked the question.
There were others that sat randomly, and then like Nicole sort of went over, would you like to come join my table? So I think we've been watching to make sure you're in the right place. Perfect. Good question. All right, expectations of a life group coordinator. If you are a coordinator, what are we expecting of you? We're expecting, and if you are a leader, what are you going to make sure that your coordinator knows that they need to be doing? So daily prayer for your fellow group members and for your life group leader. The leader needs prayer, so don't forget to pray for the leader. Willingness to participate in mutually agreed upon support roles as defined by the life group leader. So the life group leader will say, hey, I need some help with this and this. Can you help me with this? And of course, if it's a no, it's no. But mutually agreed upon. Once it's decided, then that's that person's role. Willingness to meet with my life group leader for mentoring. So mentoring, we're going to talk a bit more about that. It might have very different look and feel in every single group partnership. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what that's going to look like. It might be, you might see as a leader that your coordinator needs some spiritual development. You'll take them that route. You might see that, hey, my coordinator is solid when it comes to the scriptures and their faith, but boy, they could use some leadership development. You might take them that route. So we are honestly trusting you as leaders to see where are things at, what do we need, what does this coordinator need? You might find, wow, this person is rock solid, I have nothing that I could possibly have to offer. No problem. Then you're gonna do something mutually together that might be encouraging both of you. Kevin's gonna talk about Kazone as an example of something you might like to do in preparation for where your group is coming. Okay? That'll come later. So willingness to meet with your life group leader for mentoring, and you want to ensure as a coordinator that your heart is teachable. Really important in order to it really is this relationship, right, where it's like, okay, I want to learn from you, I want to grow, I want to move in that direction. So it's that teachable heart. Any questions for coordinators?
So when we're a coordinator of a couple, I'm assuming it's the lady that, like, for the female, that's the one that's going to be the mentoring?
Not necessarily, not necessarily.
Do we meet with both leaders?
You'll work that out with, like, so for example, you're working with a couple.
Yeah.
Within that couple team, the leaders, they'll decide how best that's going to work. I don't see any problem. I've been mentored by a couple before. I do see a problem with one-on-one mentoring alone, a man and a woman. Yeah. But if it's a couple with a woman, I have no problem with that. A couple with a man, I have no problem with that. If it's a woman and your coordinator is a man, you'll do some more, probably, like for example, one of the groups, I have they're not here today, but a couple, Kevin's going to be mentoring the man because there's a need there. And so if there's a need that's not fitting quite right, that's okay, we'll work it through, but we definitely don't want anybody in any kind of compromising situations, so that's a really good point. Woman to woman, no problem. Man to man, no problem. Couple with one, no problem. One-on-one, opposite sex. You're going to want to put a lot of parameters around that. So, for example, what's that?
Coffee shops.
Coffee shops, whatever. Yeah, and if there's married couples that the husband or wife is very well aware of what's happening and that's within this time, like we certainly don't want to have any kind of compromising situations. Okay, great. So I have a bit of information on what this mentoring relationship is going to look like. I've pulled it out of this little tiny book called Discipling. This is, it comes from 9 Marks of Building Healthy Churches. There's a whole bunch of these little books that have been put together where the guy that kind of put it together said, why are we a part of the church and yet leaders are not necessarily growing, are not necessarily knowing why they believe what they believe, and they're kind of stuck. And so he put together these tiny little books, different authors writing different ones. So if this is something you're interested in, we can help you get a hold of it. If you can't afford to purchase the book, we can help you with it through the church. If a bunch of you want it and you want us to order it and you want to contribute toward it, awesome. So that's something that you may want to look at, but just so you know, I'm going to talk a bit about it after. Where I've pulled some of this information is basically from chapter 10 of Discipling. So it's how to help others follow Jesus. So, first thing is we want to shepherd towards biblical qualifications. And so this typically is looked at in terms of as an elder, but I'm using this term a little bit more general in terms of leaders here. So whoever aspires to be an overseer, as you guys are doing in life groups, desires a noble task. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife or husband, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him. And he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. He must also have a good reputation with outsiders so that he will not fall into disgrace and into the devil's trap. That's from 1 Timothy 3:1-7. So we're taking this seriously as overseers, and this is why the coordinator role is so important. We're not expecting that coordinators have it all together. We're expecting that we're helping to bring them to that place. We're helping to bring them. It may take a year, it may take a season, it may take 3 years. But this is where we want to bring our coordinators, because it's not about whether they become leaders or not. It's about, we're helping to bring people here. That's the most important thing, okay? So, we want to adopt a posture of looking. So if you're a leader and you don't have a coordinator yet, you have to be looking, you have to be listening, and you have to be praying. Who are, you might just in conversation with people in your group go, wow, there's something about this person that they seem to have a leadership gift, or they seem to really know the scriptures well, or they seem to one thing or another that you kind of go, okay, I can see a leadership potential here. We have for many years looked for leaders in order to put leaders in place. What we want to be doing now is looking for potential leaders. Okay? There's a difference. We have to build disciples. We have to make leaders. And so therefore you're looking for somebody who has leadership potential, and you're helping to bring them there like we talked about in the last passage. Any questions? Alright, so what do? You have to spend some personal time. So you look at, what does my schedule look like? I'm already doing the group. How can you creatively add mentoring into your existing schedule? What I've found in the past at times has been, I'm going to schedule an extra half hour to my group time and ask my, whoever I'm co-leading with, but in this case coordinating, can you stay back today? I want us to just spend a little time together. It might be, hey, I'm always free during my lunch hour from this, can we have a call? Whatever that is, just think about your schedule creatively so that you're continuing to move things forward with your coordinator. So you've got to really see it as a priority and see how your schedules can work together to make it happen. Advanced trust. This one's interesting. It's like giving credit. This one's hard because we often go, if somebody has proven that they are a well-established leader, then we're going to put them in this place. For leaders, yes, I agree with that. But as coordinators, you're looking at who you're mentoring, who you're developing, who you're discipling, and you're giving them advanced trust. You're saying, I'm expecting that I'm going to help you. We're going to do this. We've got this. We're working together. And we're going to expect young disciples to make young disciple mistakes. If we're expecting perfection, we can't be perfect. How can we expect anybody that we're mentoring to be perfect? Expect young disciples to make young disciple mistakes. Don't be afraid to nominate. I love this. It was from the book. Do not be afraid to nominate a young lion cub. He might scratch the floors or damage some furniture, but if you're patient with him, you'll have a lion who loves you for life. Isn't that cute?
Adorable.
I know. So it's advancing trust, it's giving credit, it's believing that as you're following with this person, you're bringing them where they need to go.
I like that.
Delegate responsibility. So I already heard Phyllis delegating some responsibility this morning. Well done, Phyllis. I thank you for modeling that for our group here this morning. And I also heard, which was awesome, who you had delegated to going to their coach and saying, so, can I show up with my iPad on Sunday morning and we work this? This is exactly what we want to see.
You don't need a hearing test.
She's on top of everything. It's crazy.
Somebody said, I won't name names. So, give opportunities to lead. Be willing to give up the last word. Ouch. And cultivate respect for other leaders. So we're building this culture of trust, this culture of leadership, this culture of that we're building a leadership culture with. Give feedback. This is a tough one. I've seen it so many times where it's like, oh, I don't want to say anything. I'm sure they get it. I'm sure it's fine. It's going to be okay. But actually, it's really important, and when you move into that relationship, that mentorship relationship, develop a structure to offer feedback. Do it right from the get-go. I want to be able to give you some feedback. I want to hear your opinions on it. Let's talk it through. Start it like that from the get-go, and you'll be able to get so much further and do so much more. And model also what it means to give and receive feedback. So you might say to your coordinator, will you give me feedback? Because they see stuff that you don't see. You've got blind spots. I know I have them. So ask for feedback and then don't get defensive. And then model how we can receive feedback well and do it in a way that's mature and where we can handle it. Also give good feedback too, not just negative feedback. Encourage godly authority. Good authority blesses those under it. So people will gravitate towards good, healthy authority that spends itself for the good of those under its care, rather than using them for its own good. We all have seen people who lead with good, godly authority. That's what we're looking for. Good authority blesses those under it. Expect clarity. What does that mean? A willingness to search God through the scriptures to answer the tough questions. And it's okay to say, I don't know. Let's figure this one out together. We're going to contact our coach, or we're going to contact Pastor Kevin, or we're going to go into our commentary. It's okay to say, I don't know. And the fact that you're mentoring somebody else, or the fact if you are being mentored as a coordinator, don't expect the leader to know everything. It's okay. We'll get there. Not know everything, but we'll get the answers we need. And foster a culture of humility. All that I've talked about so far requires a culture of humility. Not, oh, I can do it better, but also not, I could never do it that well. Neither of those are where we want it. We want to know that God does different things with different people, and that is good. That's fine. We're different, right? And so don't oversell yourself, don't undersell yourself. Just know that, oh wow, God's doing something pretty amazing over here. He's doing this with me. It's just a bit different, and that's okay. So with that, I told you I would tell you a little bit about these. This book here, as I mentioned, it's 9 Marks of a Healthy Church. So this is to equip leaders with a biblical vision and practical resources. There's a whole bunch of these little books. Any of them would be great. We're not mandating what you do as leaders with your coordinator, but we want to be able to give you some suggestions if you're looking for them. So this is something you can kind of read through and go through together. There's a whole bunch of different ones: preaching, biblical theology, the gospel, conversion, evangelism, membership, discipline, discipleship, and leadership. Also, so that would be more for discipling. This one I would really encourage or recommend. There's also, you've probably heard of John Maxwell, and so 25 years of really good, solid leadership training. And so this is the book by Maxwell, but it's the 2.0 book. So if the first one was good, this is 2.0.
Even better.
So even better. So this focuses on all the stuff from the first book, but also looking at the similarities and differences of inspiring, motivating, and influencing others through integrity, self-discipline, and all moving towards positive change. You also hopefully have Right Now Media, which is some video series that you can see on your devices or get it hooked up to your television if you can and whatnot. There's tons of stuff that you can do through there. I do a lot of things when I'm mentoring somebody. I look at what are the options of what we can kind of walk through together. All the stuff on there has been looked at. It's solid, it's good materials, but you look at it and see what's important and what you'd like to do with the person you're coordinating. And then Kevin's going to talk to us a little bit about Kazone. And so I want to make sure timing-wise, maybe we'll talk about Kazone at the very end.
Sure.
And in the meantime, in our groups, we can take some time in prayer. And please, not use your coaches. Talk to your coaches about needs that you have personally, if you do. Be willing to share those needs so that your coach can be praying, but also about your group and how we can be praying for your group as well. So it's not just, this is what